All right, let's play through. No Timmy talking now. Sorry, guys.
In the first simulation, thought becomes form. The cell grows a mind, a heart starts to burn. The pupil shows promise, we'll kill him again. It's a cold dialectic, he rises in the end. From the guillotine to the chalk outline, he's always hanging from the same rope he been trying to climb. When you're up on the wire and you can't commit and you can't hold attention, I guess that's it. You've had 1,000 lives, now you're down to one, trying to survive in the Shadowverse. Every bottle and every hungry wolf, now to make you stand in the Shadowverse. Then he's a crusader with a grail to fight, but he's got no sword and there's not much time. Then he's a warrior chieftain, a violent man. As she cries on the phone, he does not understand. Then he's Achilles, who takes off his ring in the New York penthouse while she's packing her things. Now up on the wire, if you can't commit and you can't hold attention, I guess that's it. You've had 1,000 lives, now you're down to one, trying to survive in the Shadowverse. Every bottle and every hungry wolf, now to make you stand in the Shadowverse. You've had 1,000 lives, now
That was the smooth and dulcet tones of the midnight. Thank you for listening, everyone. Shadowverse. To those who've just joined, my name is Tim. Tim McEwen. I am one half of the synthwave band The Midnight. My other better half, Tyler Lyle, could not be here today, unfortunately, but it's okay because we're going to do a deep dive on the track, which happens to be my domain of expertise, as it were. I am the guy who makes all the twiddling little pretty noises, and Tyler's the guy that you just heard with his beautiful. It's like an angel pouring honey in your ear. He is the genius songwriter behind this beautiful song. I was explaining right kind of before how this came about, but long story short, this was in kind of like Tyler had these ideas, and I'll let him speak to the themes of it, but he had these ideas about, I'll probably botch it when I'm trying to retell it, but the simulation theory and, like movies like The Matrix. It's like, is life even real? Are we part of an experiment? Are we just in a maze? Are we just being watched by the gods or whatever? That's the sort of philosophical questions. And this is what I love when Tyler revs his engines into that realm. I'm like, okay, go on. So that's really kind of where he was coming at it from. And then the energy, he said, he was like, I want the final countdown by Europe. That song, that's the energy. It's got to be massive. And so we ended up doing the track with, as I mentioned right before, to those who've just joined, Nest Acoustics, who's the co-producer on this track. Amazing guy. He came up with the boom, bada boom, bada boom. That sound was like, okay, that's officially massive. So let's just go through. What I was going to do is go through the synths and anything that's sort of melodic elements, and then we'll do the drums and the bass, and then I'll do the vocals last, and kind of just talk through each element. So let's just start here. What do we got? All right. So someone in the chat mentioned the heartbeat. There's a couple of different. I don't think this is it. Yeah, this was Nest's tom fill he sent me, and I just threw. Guess we could do this drum now. It's fine. Just popped up. So this was what it sounded like. Standard like clean tom. Like they were really nice and clean and punchy. And what I always find hard is there's so much low mid range going on, like low mids on toms, and you have to like just EQ the crap out of them before they can, not sound muddy. Anyway, so this was just really easy for me. Ben is so good. Nest Acoustic, his name's Ben. He's so good at just sending me. I can literally drop it into the arrangement, and it's like done. Maybe I'll EQ a little bit or whatever. Like just so like he lets me kind of leaves enough sonic freedom for me to But he really just kind of makes my life really easy when he sends me parts. It's really fun. And he's working with everyone and their mother lately because he's so damn talented. So that is amazing to see. Here's the heartbeat. You can even hear the slight clipping. I think I even crossfaded it, but it's still a little clippy. Maybe I didn't, actually. Let's look. Oh, God, I didn't. Oh, see? This is what can happen when you're finishing an album and look at this one. It doesn't have a crossfade. That and this one as a Virgo. Oh my God. Recall the album, Justin. That's our manager. He's on the chat, by the way. Say hi to Justin Little. These are the things. And I'll let you in on a little secret as well. When I was finishing Monsters, our album that came out in 2020, that was around New Year's Eve of 2019. I went to Lake Havasu and I sat in an Airbnb with my little dog Winston, who sadly is not with us anymore in a physical little chubby teddy bear form. He's with us in spirit though, and he would be snoring away next to Yogi if he was physically here. And it was very cozy. But anyway, I was in Lake Havasu and I was just trying to do my best to finish the record. And I realized when I had finished the title track Monsters, the first chorus drop, I had forgotten to. I was figuring out where I wanted my sub bass. This is a departure, but I don't care. We're tangents. We're hanging out. You know, you guys are my friends. It's all good. We're getting into this shit. Pour yourself a glass of wine. Come hang. And now I'm just realizing that I had a chocolate bar in the fridge, but that's upstairs. And I was saving it for the stream. And alas, but maybe that's best. I'm not eating chocolate right I'm talking. Anyway. In Lake Havasu, I'm working on Monsters, and I was figuring out what range I wanted the sub bass for the drop to go. And the first chorus, because I forgot to pick one, the first chorus had the high octave of the sub. The second chorus, the second drop has the low octave. And then I went with the low one because it was cleaner. It felt really nice. And I forgot to change it for the first chorus or the first drop. And I cannot unhear it, and it's so subtle, but it's in there, and it bugs the living shit out of me. Anyway, so these are the things you do as a Virgo producer. You live with it, and you move on. All right, shimmer verb. So I remember just kind of playing. Maybe this was. I think it was a bounce from a Saurus pad or something. Let's listen to it. Actually, yeah. Oh, you know what? This could be the OB6 maybe. I don't know. I think it's the OB6 with a bunch of shimmer on, and then I bounced it. And so what you heard is just kind of... Let's listen to it first. And those little clicks, they don't matter because there's so much going on, so I'm not worried about that. I like to take something that is a little clean. I'm admittedly not a very like dirty, gritty producer. My shit is pretty clean, for better or worse. I'm not saying that is a good thing necessarily. Like, it's very nice. I get that. I try to make it punchy and all that stuff, but I'm not 9 Inch Nails. I'm just not. And so, but I do try to counteract the prettiness or the niceness with at least making my sounds sit in I want them to be a little resonant. I want them to be a little kind of sort of cleaned up, so they're really, let's say you're dealing with, in this case, a string. I don't know what I did with the EQ. Let's look. Oh, I guess I didn't do anything. Maybe I didn't need to do anything. We just take it off. So in this case, I guess, I got this EQ. Let's listen. Huh? There you go. Oh my God, they're both off. Maybe I ended up taking them off. Well, let's just bypass it. I guess I, in this case, did not do anything because it was clean. Yeah, I think maybe so I'm saying this is a lesson for all of you. As I'm saying is, I know this is where I sometimes go a bit overboard. So what I ended up doing was going, you know what, actually it doesn't need it. And so I bypassed it as I'm sort of sitting there going, and then you step back in your mix and you're like, there's so much going on, and sometimes you need to let a sound have a bit more space. And so I'm realizing I'm saying the exact opposite of what I was just saying, but because I find that I'm acutely aware that it is something I always want to clean up stuff. And sometimes I have to remind myself, like, let it take up this space, and then fix it another place. Like, give this song give this sound some soul or some body or some life. And so I have to remind myself of that. So in this case, I think I just bypassed both. I wasn't doing anything with EQ. I was testing out EQs and, decided to bypass it. So anyway, so that's just like a little string thing. This is a nest sound. Listen to this bad boy. Oh my God. Ugh. He just is so good at adding these. See, I didn't even do anything to it. It's got such like, it's like dusty and like a little dirty, but it's clean, and it's not just like, it's very synthetic sounding still. And I am a sucker for that. I suspect this is part of that. So I doubt they're going to the same, they're just being sent to the same key. So they're not being treated, after their channel. So this one here is, what did he send me? So what I did was just giving it some presence, you know, again, this bad boy here, probably some EQ, yeah, some EQ, and then Decapitator, because I find it's a really good, maybe sometimes the last step to really control. Sometimes I'll just use it as a tiny bit of sort of saturation or even less distortion, but really as a dynamic controller, really as a sort of a limiter, saturation limiter. So I like to do it in that way. I know I skipped over, this is the drums, it's just a hi-hat, but this is for the verse, I think. So, oh, this is the pre. Let's have a listen. I'm gonna mute Tyler's vocals right now here, so. All right. So we can take all the keys here and just mute them. All right. Yeah, baby. That's how we roll. Again, this is, I mean, I can hear all the little details that Nest Acoustics added, and it's given, he's had a hand in most of the tracks on the news record, even if it's just a little bit like a transition here and there, that he's been able to add. He's very good at filling spaces that aren't being filled. So he'll kind of listen to what's going on and kind of like, where can I fit in? And that's just any great artist. That makes me think of like my favorite band, Toto, favorite drummer, Jeff Porcaro, sadly passed away too early or young. Just one of the best drummers in the world, in my opinion. He would always approach a song with what rhythm does this song need? And you know, what serves the song? And I think that's a testament to Ben's talent. Anyway, let's go to this guy here. Yeah, this one I just had was just, you know, sort of a drone bass. It's probably supporting something that's going on. Let's stick with the I gotta move faster. I've got 40 minutes left before you guys all have to leave me in the dust. No, I just want to see if I can fit it into an hour here. I'll be faster. See, this kind of good stuff. That's all Ben. And I think this is just an effect. Yeah, that's just like a build. So this is Ben. I mean, listen to that texture. Come on. And then he has these little pulses. And notice that he has but there's a bass in there. There's a note. So in the verses, this is, so now there's no note. So I kind of like chopped it around and made it fit sort of what kind of worked for me once I got the stems. And so for that verse where the bass note is just on that root note, dong, you know, if we just play the whole track, it's just staying there. And I was just like, okay, we should just have this. So if you have the drums playing, I'll just move a bit faster here. So you hear that? I'm going to try and mute that and then bring it back in. So with it, and now mute. Such a nice texture, and it kind of like makes the kick sound a little blown out, and it's kind of got a stereo feel going on. So what I've got going on there is some Devasta to, you know, control it. Let's listen to it without anything. So it's not a ton. It's probably just some compression and control. See? Really nice and controlled. See how it's just a bit more flabby? This just is really, really nice for control. Anyway, and so I've got that. And then I've got the kick actually bounced out. And not just sidechained, but I'm using the kick to kind of take out the frequencies being played by the kick. Whenever the kick is playing, it's basically kind of ducking those frequencies in the low end, but leaving, not sidechaining this top. If I solo this, you'll see. Make sure it's solo. Yeah. You hear how much like low end you kind of don't need when the kick is playing, but when it's not playing, then you get this. So then it comes back in because the kick is not playing. It's right here. All right, so just little nerdy tweaks. Oh, this one was a sample I found on, we'll get to this bad boy. This was what a sample I had lying around from Splice, just Splice sample. Now it's been through a ton of random stuff. Like I took it and did a bunch of stuff with it and pitch shifted it and time stretched and blah, blah, blah. And then I sent it to Ben and he did a bunch of stuff with it. And so this is kind of, it ended up being a way more subtle texture in the track. I'm like, when I listen to it now soloed, I'm like, maybe I should turn it up a bit. But it was such a, it was such a big session. I felt like a lot going on sonically. So a little bit on the harder side to mix, I found. But anyway, so it's a bit more tucked. And here is like, essentially, I think I just took this intro, combined it, and like I think that was Ben, and I just controlled it through a decapitator on it. Let's just bypass that. You hear that, a little bit more body and presence to it, and it's probably controlling it a bit. And I think that was just me. That was just me taking that sample and just doing that. He soloed it when we were all in the studio when he had done the demo and we were playing around with it. And he solos that sound, and we just go, "Oh my god, that's just how it should open." And that was just pretty palpable. I was like, "Okay, this is the identity of the song now." What's this? Let's have a listen. So that's again Ben. That's Nest. Just always coming up with tasteful stuff, and he would just throw stuff at the wall. And he's like, use it if you like it. If not, just throw it out. I don't care. He's, I love it when people aren't precious, and I'm the same. I'm like, just do whatever you want with it. Have fun. That's the best way. And then so here we get to more of my sounds. I didn't have quite as much time to bounce audio and do stuff. Not that requires so much time, but I was kind of, as I want to do, I tend to want to remain to maintain control over, like, what if I want to change the level of the MIDI in a week from now? I can't do that if I bounce that as audio. And so I sometimes, I'm getting a lot better at committing, but a lot of this stayed MIDI because it was like, okay, now I just need to finish this because I was on a deadline and all that stuff. So these are just random zero plucks, whatever. And then, I played around with whatever preset. Pretty nice little chorus feel on that one. And this is a sound I've used a lot on the new album. So here I'm really just doubling what Nest or Acoustics had already done if we soloed here. So I'm just kind of enhancing a role that he came up with, and it just sat nicely there. Saurus is a killer synth, by the way. I love Saurus. I don't quite know how to work it, but the basics. But it's a little confusing to me for a dum-dum like me, because I'm not very technically inclined in that way. But it has such a great sound. I mean, I think when it comes to like vintage kind of body and filth, it absolutely rivals and, dare I say, maybe surpasses Diva in, I think, what it can do with some of the wiring and the kind of like how dirty some of these, not dirty, but like how like there's this drive button really, it just adds saturation and compression and it's just really rich, full, if we kind of take the EQ away. So if I'm just playing, let's just move my water bottle here. Let's see if I can just play. So much body, you know. Love it. Okay, so obviously you had to clean that up a bit. So that's what you get. But hear that sizzle? This was like my new go-to soft but futuristic brassy type pad, you know, for this album. Absolutely. Used it on, I don't know, man, pretty much all the songs. This one is used in the opening for Love is an Ocean as well. This bass is in there. It's just a serum bass. I think it might be... Oh, I don't know who made it, but it's some patch that I'd messed around with and did something to and changed. But I guess it always is, right? Or maybe, I guess, you know, lots of you young people make your own presets because you're that talented. And I just sit back and seethe in anger and resentment about your talent. So here's the Shadows pad. This is Shadows right here. You hear that? There's some like, hear that crunch? There. That's that little extra saturation. It's just on warm. It's so minimal, but it has that like full grit. Anyway, that's the Shadows pad. Probably tweaked a bit, whatnot. But these are the kind of elements. I'm gonna I can't speak here. I'm gonna try to get better at looking at the chat here. So if you have anything you want me to talk about, I'm going to get into the vocals next, but let me know. We'll do the vocals now, and then we'll just, see if you have any questions. Actually, I'll do the vocals, and then I'll look at the chat. Let's just briefly touch on the drums. So I took and kind of ran with it on the drum side, because I find that's often where I can really bring it into our lane. So let's just mute the keys. So here you have, one of my countless midnight kicks that also will be available for purchase on the Splice store soon. Maybe later this year or earlier next year. I'm not quite sure the release date, but there will be a Splice sample pack coming from the Midnight, and it's pretty much done. I'm literally just finishing up the last bits and bobs, probably this week. So one of my kicks, and so really the drum bus is pretty simple on this one. I don't have a ton going on. This guy is amazing. Transient Shaper from Softtube. Just like I have a ton. I think I have about 4 different dynamic, what they call like transient shapers and stuff like that. I have the one from Native. I have the one from, there's a built-in one in Logic that sometimes I use. It's more of a, it's called Enveloper, but I use it sometimes for like snare drums and stuff. And then I have this one, and I have, there's another one from, there's Plugin Alliance. I have that one. Anyway, so, but they're all different. And I think if you want one that's really versatile, it sounds slightly different from the, I think, rather limited, but really simply so, really good Transient Shaper from Native Instruments, which doesn't have as many bells and whistles, but it sounds really good. And it does something slightly different to, let's say, a snare drum or a kick drum or a drum bus or whatever than this one does. And this one you have way more freedom, but even if you didn't, the algorithms is just slightly different. So you're not, if you're thinking of getting both, I would recommend it because they're different. Anyway, this one's great. You can choose where you want your punch or lack of thereof, and you can add saturation, and you can then adjust it here so you gain stages. And there's sort of a built-in a little bit of a compression, and it's like how thumpy would you want your low end, your kicks, and or maybe your snare as well, and like how much compression is it adding, and it's just so good. Anyway, so it's that, and then just a clipper. Let's open this guy. So without any clipping, I'm with. So I went a little aggressive on the clipping because I was just like, let's just bring some sizzle to this party. And so, and we talked about this one. We went through this, the midnight sound. Oh, sorry, it's muted right now. That's the midnight sound, guys. Apparently, that's the midnight sound. I never gave it a second thought when I first used it. I just thought it was a cool sound, and I kept using it because it was easy. And then everyone started asking about that sound, and it's so funny. So it's just a chord. And then we have from Spire. I love Spire. Great synth. So this one is Spire. I guess a preset called Jupiter Night. This is great. It's such a clean, great for like EDM, but you can get some grittier sounds with it too, with some noise and stuff. But it doesn't. It's a bit more old school than Serum, but at the same time, it's not so much trying to compete there. I think they sound slightly different, so they go really well together actually. And I find that the effects rack, is a bit on the cleaner side, but the quality of the reverb and the delay in there is really nice. So often I'll leave that on and then add my extra source. But this is how the dry sound or the kind of bass sounds. And so dry, a little bit of compression, a little bit of velocity control. And then I've got some filtering going on at the end. That's just, we don't need to leave. We can leave that on. Here we've got this guy. Yeah. All right, so I love Echo Melt. It can be a little crazy sometimes, a little overly wobbly, but once you rein it in and you find your, what you're doing with it, it's really great. So here we don't have any of the echoing going on or anything. It's just an EQ and saturation and kind of it doing what it needs to do. So you could add more delay here. You could add chorus, and you can go really overboard. But in this case, I was just keeping it clean. Treating some resonances. This guy, a little bit of that going on, just reining that in a touch. So without it, sorry. Subtle, but it's just cleaning it up a bit. Because there's a lot going on in that mid-range. Same range as the kind of release pad. Like, it's all in that kind of resonant area. And then I love Valhalla Ubermod just for its chorus. I'll just throw it on like that. That's how it starts. Maybe turn down to 45 or 40. Hear that? Ooh. And then just some filtering going on. I think that is, let's see here. Oh, okay. So this is what was going on here. The filter opens up in the last chorus. Oh, need to highlight it. So opens and then it just closes. So this is just a really simple filter I use. You'll hear it. So Nalxis, it's so simple, but it just sounds so round. Listen to this. So instead of fading it, what I'll do at the end of the songs often is I'll just roll off highs until the sound, dies out. Anyway, is that it? We've got this little, is that a bass? What's going on here? Oh, this is the vocoder here. So let's solo this. We'll get into that once we got vocals, but that was good. We'll leave that in a while. And we have someone asked in the chat earlier who did the solo. I did the solo. I love doing these solos. I'm not the most proficient. I'm not the track that opens the whole album, Syndicate. is the intro pads are playing by a really amazing keyboard player named J3PO, who's a friend, and just I've been a fan of him for years, and we hung out for a day in a studio, and that intro is what we came, he played that, and then I added the second pad that comes in. You'll hear it, but I really love that track. But J3PO, he's a beast. He is an absolute beast. He plays for like Herbie Hancock and everyone. And I'm just a producer dude. So, truth be told, every time I had to play synth solos for live shows, I always felt a little bit like, I'm not really qualified for this. Like, let's be honest, I can play a couple of notes. But anyway, did my best. And then in the studio, you're able to kind of clean up stuff and try out and go a little harder and go kind of balls to the wall a bit, because you can edit and you can, as you'll hear. But this is the solo as it is. So there you have it, ladies and gents. So I've been using this serum patch literally since we started. I don't even know what it is. I guess this is like, I don't know, tuck synchronized leads. So this is how it sounds. So it's got some velocity thing going on with the filter and stuff. So it kind of opens and closes, and it's got some resonance going on. And then I throw it through. I've tried all kinds of different ones, but different kind of lead sounds. But the one I'm using now is I mean, I've probably tweaked it and changed it a bit, but I guess Epic Rock Solo. I mean, maybe that's like a preset I found and messed around with it. So that has some delay built in, and I'll typically clean up a preset or do whatever. So this is how that sounds. And as you can hear, there's like some stuff going on in the low mid, so just cleaning that up a bit. All right. Okay, let's get to the vocals. Run through them real quick. Cool. So I forget which mic this was recorded on, but I know that we found like the mic that sounds better. I think it's probably the same mic. Tyler's vocals on this record sounds better than they ever have, in my opinion. We found the right mic for him and how to treat it, and it's just such a pleasure to work. Like, it just loved his voice. Anyway.
In the first simulation, thought becomes form. The cell grows a mind.
So I've tried, as you can hear, super clean. So it's really well recorded. Nice body. And so I've really had the bandwidth to try and play around with different compressors and for the most part, I mean, I'm a full-on convert to the Distressor, just the UAD Distressor, their version of the Distressor. I love it. It's so silky on vocals, but it's like aggressive in the same time, and the different slopes you get into it. But it's such a great and versatile compressor. It's probably just my go-to, my favorite. And for vocals, yeah, forget about it all day long. I used it you can do anything. It drums, bass, I don't know, maybe less so on drums, but even though still no, I kind of like this. I think I used it actually. Let's look at the drums. So we forgot to go through that. So we have just, this is the drum beat. So probably one snare. This is our like main beefy snare. And you can see both things are going through the Distressor. So it's just so good at like controlling and giving you that like whip. This is the Heartbeat, the snare from Heartbeat, from our album Heroes. I like messed around a bit and messed with a bit. And then this is Collateral, the Collateral snare. I just like took out the attack and I kind of compressed the tail and just used it. So that's how that sounds, and it sounds like this. There you go. All right. So here's what I did, my chain. Let's just run through it real quick. Most of it, this is kind of the same. So the distressor, some de-esser, a little bit of de. Let's move it over here. A little bit of de-esser from FabFilter, really clean, such an effective de-esser. And Pro Q4 with some. I don't think I'm doing any spectral. I think it's just multiband compression on some resonance areas. Nothing spectral going on this lead, from what I recall. The Tube Tech, this little guy, I bought that years ago, or maybe last year, and I hadn't used it on anything. I was like, oh yeah, I got this thing. Let's try it, and it was just really nice. It's sort of I'm a little wary of the sort of overall, you put one plugin and it does it all for you. Like, hey, best vocal chain plugin, and it's just all of the things. Because it's like, I always find they sound a bit cheapo and it sounds either way over compressed or it's not quite, it's just ends up being a little, but this one it's kind of clean and subtle, and you just, it's like, in this case, it added some clarity, some mid-range and some compression and brought it to the forefront. So I just kind of, I blended it in and just add a little bit of that. Let's close these guys. And then this guy's really great. I'm always looking for not always looking for, but I find that it's hard to come by nice stereo imaging for vocals that doesn't sound super kind of like tinny or overly processed. I'm not calling any companies out, but you know who you are. No, I'm just kidding. I just find that is a little hard. So what I like I also love a plugin with a bypass button built in. Come on, more soft tube. I'm actually looking at you, soft tube. Where's your bypass button? Is there a bypass button on this one? See, there isn't. Softtube doesn't have that. I wish they had that because I love their products, but I wish there was a bypass built in so you didn't get the latency when you're sort of gain staging and changing things like that. Anyway,
simulation.
No stereo.
Thought becomes form. A cell grows a mind. A heart starts to burn.
So it sounds a little aggressive when she, just put it on dry, as they say. This, once you put all the sauce, it just sits really nicely. It's like almost a bit of a reverb. It's really nice. And, you can do your timing, your pitch. It's more of a chorus type effect, your tone. It's messing with some stereo field stuff. And then I have a generous amount of reverb and then a third reverb. So here, just these two. This guy
thought becomes form
from UAD, which is a remake of an old classic reverb, and love. Oh, did I just do something? And love Valhalla. I love all Valhalla stuff, but this delay is amazing. And often I use the the tape duck or the BB duck, so you can duck the delay.
Simulation.
Anyway, so that's it. And it's pretty similar. Let's have a listen to this. So here, I forgot. Here's where we add in the third verb. If I'm not... Yeah.
From the guillotine to the chalk outline. Been trying to climb.
So really just not so much a super long reverb, but what's being added there is some body. It's like a rich reverb. Very classic 80s reverb remake as well. I use the same setting for the vocals on Heart Worth Breaking on our album Heroes. I love this reverb from UAD. It's great.
From the guillotine to the
and let's go to, I want to go to the last couple of choruses because we have all the dubs and stuff and vocoder and all that stuff. So let's do this. Okay, so we got Tyler's lead here.
You've had 1,000 lives, now you're down to one.
Super clean. And dubs.
You've had 1,000 lives, now you're down to one.
With a bunch of sauce on, a little extra delay from H delay. Now I'm gonna get a little better at okay. Put any specific things you want me to talk about in this in the chat. I'll try and look. But anyway, I'm just kind of trying to go through everything as fast as I can. Here's a harmony. Let's have a listen to him. Now I just cranked the auto tune on this one because these are so high, and I was like, it doesn't matter because they're going to be just a texture. I would never auto tune Tyler this hard if you for this style, because he wanted to sound kind of alive. But here I was like, don't worry about it. It's going to be super tucked. Tyler's leads is so damn good. It is so damn good. He sounds amazing on there, and this was really, he knew what the song was from day one. I was the one who had to kind of find what the track sounded like that sort of brought the song to life in the best way. That's my job, I find, you know. Okay, let's see here. Someone has here, where did the name Syndicate come from? And can you show us the noisy fantasy part from the Love is an Ocean, because it's absolute perfection. Noisy fantasy. I don't know what that is. But now I want to know. After this, in 10 minutes, when, you know, kind of we were done with the track, I'll hang for a bit, and we'll open Love is an Ocean. Let's fucking do it. Someone asked hardware synths at all? Actually, not a lot of hardware synths on this one. I didn't have a lot of time when I was finishing it, and sometimes you just have to go to stuff you know works, and you need to fill holes and kind of make the thing work, and you just have to make the puzzle fit. But in the gestation phase, in the sort of early phase, there was some early ideas, some ideas, some hardware synths and stuff. There's one track called Quiet Earth that I think you guys will really like. That's got a lot of my analog, mostly just analog synths actually, but a lot of it is kind of newer. I wanted this to feel new, but this is very much OG Midnight. This is same process, you know, a lot of the same plugins, you know, it's a lot of the same patches I was using. Let's just go through the harmonies. So I know I had this vocoder. That's the last thing, and then we can just kind of chat through any questions you have. So here we got this. So this is just Tyler's lead being sent through the vocal synth. Let's bypass whatever EQ is going on here. So if we just take all the vocals.
You've had 1,000 lives, now you're down to one, trying to survive in the Shadowverse.
So that's it. That's the take this off here. A vocoder, I love vocoders. So it sits like a synth, so it doesn't get in the way of the vocals, but it is a texture that follows along with the vocals as if it was BVs and stuff. And I just love blending them. And you can make it really transparent, but I love that as a texture. Anyway, so let's see what you guys have as questions. Tim, can you briefly go over Digital Dreams? I will do that. Ask me in 10 minutes. Once we're done with this track, we can talk through Digital Dreams and Love is an Ocean, and you know, we'll open the sessions, and I won't be able to do full deep dives, but let's just get a little specific. That's totally fine. Mix bus, that's a good call. Yes, mix bus. Honestly, so how I do it, I always just have anything going to drums. I have effects, drums, keys, and then drums and keys, and often effects all go to the track bus. This is everything. What I did on this album, and I found this tutorial on a video I can't remember, is his name Big Ed or something like that? Big Ed, like a synth. He's kind of a house producer, and he's got really awesome mixing tips. And he had, I forget if that's his YouTube title, Big something. I'm sure it's Big Ed. I don't know. Anyway, so maybe I've watched too much Twin Peaks. Big something. And really talented guy, and he came up with this using Soothe as essentially, let's play the track. So hear that. So this is what it's doing. So essentially, this is listening to the vocal. I had a whole setup, so I have all the dry vocals going in here, all the wet, and they're being summed here. So this whole bus with the dry vocals is it's going through, it's being sent. This one is pulling, well, was used to do, I think I changed around some settings, but anyway, it was pulling from the vocal chain. It was bypassed right now. But anyway, so what that does, it just kind of, every time there's a vocal, you can kind of make sure you're kind of filtering out some spectral stuff. It's a spectral filter, I think, essentially what Soothe is. And you can use it very, very subtly, but you can just make a tiny bit of more space for the vocal every time. It's essentially ducking certain frequencies that your vocals are hitting in. So that's what it's done. So it's not what we're hearing now, but I've used that on a lot of the tracks. Love is an Ocean, Digital Dreams, just to be able to maintain punch. But whenever there's a vocal, you just get a little bit more space, and it's really wonderful. Mix bus. So yeah, so that's what I do. I have everything going to the track bus. I actually rarely have anything on the track bus because I always find it creates problems with levels, and when the drums stop, then now the keys get really loud because the compressor for the track bus is like bringing everything up, and I hate that. So I want to rely on what I have. So once it's past that, it typically doesn't do a lot. My drum bus, I'll have a bunch of stuff on it. And then here we have essentially what this is doing. I think there's a little bit of EQing going on. But really, it's I use the mono maker here. So everything below 85 hertz is made to mono. I first learned about this technique about 10 years ago. When we were mastering for vinyl for the first album for Days of Thunder, and the guy told me that for vinyl it needs to be anything under 112 to 115 hertz has to be mono, because it's too much information for the needle and it'll skip and jump stuff. So some people go a bit more aggressive and make everything below 200 hertz mono, or maybe just 100. But generally, the kind of danger is that it skips and it can't play it. But it's a good idea to kind of create low-end focus, but while maintaining your sort of wide sound in anything that sort of you're hearing in the mid to high frequencies. So the whole thing just kind of is mono from 85, because anything down there, you don't want width, you want punch, and you want presence. You got a clipper going on here. I love this clipper. I got it recently. I haven't explored it a lot, but it sounds so damn good. And it's really, you can add some color, some saturation. Let's just put it on quickly. We only have a couple of minutes left, and I want to make sure I finish. Let's do this. You can hear you're really getting a lot of like crunch. And then the Oxford Inflator, which is I've been using on every track. This one is probably a bit on the aggressive side. Actually, no, this is kind of the settings I was using. Lowering the input a bit and not just make it not quite as too hot. And then the effect on 60, this on the curve on 8, just kind of controlling. So bypassing it. So you're actually getting a more controlled signal, but with more presence. And then this is just, God Particle is good for master. I wasn't using this on my final mixes. That's just for my demos, so it doesn't need to be on. But God Particle, shout out to God Particle, because it's a great like mastering. Sometimes that's just what I'll throw on my mastering channel. I think it's a bit expensive. It's probably like $150 or something. But it sounds so good on most things. So really good. That was kind of that. Thank you so much. We're not going to end the stream soon. I just want to make sure that, the people that came for maybe just this hour, I know, maybe you just found us. Maybe you'll just stick around. We're just going to keep hanging for maybe, I don't know, like another half hour or so. So, yeah, man.